Liftoff.
So, the movie of choice was Interstellar. Who picked this one? It was chat, right? That picked this one.
Jared.
We did a
It's
vote.
Jared.
Well,
Oh, okay.
okay. So originally the Facebook group we just said throw out some movies, and I picked three of my choices from that group, and then we let the chat vote on which one of those three it was.
Right.
Okay. That's right.
So
And
if
ended
you're
up
not
being
following
Interstellar.
our Facebook page, go follow our Facebook page, Four Takes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we do most of our communicating. Huh?
All right, we'll start with Jared, since I think it was technically your pick. We'll just
Okay.
start out with initial thoughts.
So I had seen it once before, and I was kind of hoping that knowing. So we should probably also put a spoilers disclaimer up on this one because it's got some
Spoilers.
the game type, big things that happen at the end. I actually felt pretty much the exact same that I did when I watched it the first time, and we'll get into that when I say my likes and dislikes. I was kind of hoping that knowing the ending would kind of be like a new revelation going through it and watching it and picking stuff out. But it's been so long since I saw it the first time. I didn't really pick up on anything new, but I did pretty much have the exact same review that I would today. So
Interesting. All right, Ra.
I actually enjoyed it much more this time around, and I think because the last time I saw it, it was I was in a different place in my life. The last time I saw it. So when I saw it now, I have kids. I'm older now, so it's a lot of things I took in differently. So the first time I watched it, I didn't tear up. You know what I'm saying? This time I watched it, I teared up on certain scenes. So it's just like, dang, like what was that affecting me? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a dad now. You know what I mean? So like when you understand certain things from a parent aspect, it adds to whatever that you're watching that has to do with that area. So for me, I think it gotten better for me. It aged really, really, really well for me.
Interesting. All right, Izzy.
Okay, so you all have seen this and I hadn't, right? So which was I feel like kind of the point. My first impression is, okay, how do I word this? Because
oh gosh.
It was this is the first time a movie has ever made me want kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never had that urge to be a dad before, ever.
Wow. That's not what I was expecting you to say.
Is amazing. That's an amazing kid. She's and I would totally be that dad that goes to talk to the teachers and then comes back and she's like, how'd it go? And I was like, I got you suspended. We're gonna go watch a baseball game. She's like, what? Actually sort of upset because she wants to go not get in trouble at school. But not that I would pop off to them at all, but I would just be such a big picture dad that I would understand the fleeting nature of standardized education on a kid that's that bright, right? Mm-hmm. So that actually woke that up in me, and I thought that was cool, and I didn't expect it. And the other thing that I noticed, first impression wise, was how I started to really wonder how he shot the scenes in outer space, because he likes to do everything in camera. Mm-hmm. Right, as a technical dude, I kind of was like, okay, I might want to watch. I just kind of a disclaimer here. I don't know if the chat knows this or not, or if you guys even know this. Jared might know this. I really detest watching behind the scenes or making of material. I try to avoid it at all costs because I think the point of a film is to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
So I don't like to intentionally undo that work.
Yeah, it kind of takes away that magic.
Yeah, for the sake of curiosity, I don't like it. And some people love it. I get it. I'm not saying it's the wrong decision. I'm not attacking that. I just don't like to do it. But this one, I might do it because I'm actually so curious as to how he did some of the outer space shots. And then it really struck me that there was no sound in outer space. There's only been like maybe 3 movies ever that I can think of that did that because it's a vacuum. There's no sound. So it's like, I know there are other movies that have done it. I think 2001 does it. But I don't know. You could feel, I guess if I had to boil it down to like one sentence or like one concept, I have always thought that Christopher Nolan wanted to be the spiritual successor to Ridley Scott. I always thought that he wanted that torch passed to him and has been trying to do it with every second, every film, every shot. He wants to be the next Ridley Scott. And I think this is him finally actually just admitting it openly that he's trying to follow Ridley Scott.
Right.
It does feel like Alien, but it's not a horror film.
Right.
It's like a suspense film, but the way that he frames things and the way he treats outer space and all that stuff, it really felt like him like really doubling down, being like, no, really, I want to be the next Ridley Scott. I'm going to do it. Like, come color, I want her. Like, so I think that would about do it for my first impression before we get too far into the granularity of it. So
I was going to ask Izzy a real quick question. So you said it was the first movie that made you feel like you want to be a father. Is it the first time that you felt like you want to be a father, or just the first movie that inspired that?
Probably the first time. I have never considered kids.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But also, like, I'm kind of like a serial dater. You know what I mean? Like, I'll have like a really serious girlfriend for a long time, and then it finally won't work out, and then like next, you know what I mean? Kind of a thing. So, kids are never on the table when you have a mindset like that. And I'm like a responsible person, I think. Like, as far as that stuff goes, I'm not going to try and, do stuff that's going to end in an accidental kid, if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
So, but this movie, like, I think this is really the first time that, like, I was actually like, oh man, like, okay, that's what having a kid could. I know it's a movie, but I also know that there are kids out there like that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, right.
I don't know. Yeah, it was definitely one of the first times, like, that I felt that urge, you know what I mean, in like a weird way. So yeah.
My first initial thoughts, I mean, I'm trying to say I don't want to give too much away of my thoughts on it, but yeah, I think I got more. There were certain things I got more out of it this time than the last time I saw it. Like, there were certain things in it that didn't really, like, plot points and stuff in it that didn't really make sense to me the first time I saw it, and this time it did. And yeah, I mean, I thought the story was really good. Like, I forgot, kind of bouncing off Izzy's point, like, I forgot how much I liked the way he portrayed Matthew McConaughey as a dad in this movie, because it's like it's like the way he was acting throughout the movie. I was like, man, he kind of acts like me, like I would as a dad. Like, I'm not very I'm not super strict with my kids. Like, if getting my kids to spend it and taking them to a game is like something I would do. Like, that's something I would do. So that's something I appreciated too. And yeah, I don't know. I'll get more into it once we get into like likes, especially likes and dislikes. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Man.
That's what's up.
I think we got through everybody, right?
Yep.
Alrighty. So, Jared, we will start with likes.
Well, Izzy kind of took one of them about the nobody can hear you scream in space, and nobody can hear anything else either, right?
Yep.
I like that, and like you said, it's been done on other shows too. But I think I liked a lot of the science in it. There was one scene where the ship, or the, what do they call it when it's like the circular, when it's the whatever the rotation space station was like in front of Saturn, and rather than a close up on it like a Star Destroyer or something with the moon behind it, it was just this little bitty dot.
It's a Cheerio.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure also has been done before, but I do like that because, the planet doesn't need to be dwarfed by the space station. It needs to be the other way around to really appreciate the scope. I liked the way that the wormhole was a sphere. I thought that was really cool. And I actually did some research on the science of this right before we got on here to try to see what was legit and what was speculative and what was real. And that one looked like it was real. If wormholes exist, right? Because that's the question, if they even exist. But it would be represented more in a sphere type way than a circle.
That's what they're trying to just agree with your point. That's what they're trying to say. What a black hole really is a wormhole. We can't visually see that part yet, but that's what they're trying to say. Given the information that they get from NASA as far as what they're seeing or what they can see or seeing from however they calculate or whatever they come up with to say this is what this is, but they're kind of alluding to that fact now that this a black hole is possibly a wormhole.
Okay, so I it's been like 10 days since I saw it, since we skipped our week.
I watched it twice.
Is the wormhole the same thing as the black hole, or does the wormhole just put you in a spot that's like close to another black hole?
No, I think the wormhole is like wormhole is just almost like a tunnel from one end to the other. A black hole, I think, is just something that just sucks everything in.
Black hole is gravity,
right? Yeah. So so they go into the wormhole and it happens to be next to a solar system that has a black hole, right?
No,
and later on, no.
Mm-mm. You're talking about what they were saying was like the solar system was next to the wormhole. Is that what you're talking about when they were talking about how it spins and
viable worlds near a black hole, which was weird, but they were like, okay, we're going to there because the odds are good.
Was there a black hole?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe remember they called it they named it.
I understand what Jared was saying, but
Gargantua, right?
Gargantua, thank you.
Oh, I thought Gargantua was a wormhole.
I think black holes are going to be in like every, galaxy. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be black holes, all over the place. Maybe it's a space dump, where things go that are not useful. It's a black hole, But if you're traveling somewhere, there's a wormhole that'll get you to this galaxy or get you to that galaxy or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, because later on he falls into the black hole. He doesn't fall into the wormhole because they already went into the wormhole to get
right, and they didn't lose any time going through the wormhole.
Right.
They lost time when they got near the black hole.
That's what I thought.
On a planet that was orbiting it.
Yeah.
That's so messed
up. So I like that. I like that whole time dilation thing because I'm a sci-fi nerd. One thing that I read that if the planet was actually that close to a black hole, it would have such a major tidal effect that it would be torn apart, which that planet did have. The first one I went to, a major tidal effect, right? There's just like huge walls. Yeah. So it's he probably looked into the science of that and said, yeah, this planet probably wouldn't exist this close for time to make this much of a difference. But if it was super close, it would be a tidal wave. So that was cool. Both planets that they went to, the ice clouds and all that on the planet that Matt Damon was on.
Yeah.
It's just some really cool effects that you haven't really seen in any other movies. The last thing that I liked that I was really impressed with, and this is interesting, was the talking heads that they had at the beginning talking about the dust storm, right?
The old people.
Yeah.
I was like, where did they get these actors that are so they seem so real? This seemed like a documentary, right?
It seemed like their parents or grandparents, the staff of the movie almost or something.
Okay, so what it was,
maybe.
What it was, this is interesting. Ken Burns did a documentary on the actual Dust Bowl in the 1930s.
Got it.
And interviewed old people. And they used that.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay.
That's why those interviews were so legit. It felt like, okay, this
Dust actually talking about it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That's pretty dope.
I thought that was really cool. But
it
made sense.
That explains why it looks so legit.
It totally looked legit, right? Yeah, I was totally floored by how real it looked, and it's because it's real.
It's Ken Burns, yeah, rad.
So, and like I said, that's the last thing. But I also love the scene that's become like a meme, where Matthew McConaughey's watching his daughter, and he's growing older and stuff, and he's just like bawling, and it's just like a zooming up close up shot on him getting all emotional. That is a pretty amazing piece there. I think that's the reason why it became so well known, is because it just really has an impact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hats off to Jessica Chastain for crying in that scene too. The whole because even I got squishy when she's like, "It'd be a really good time for you to come back now that I'm your age." That whole thing.
Oh, that was awesome.
And she just cracks.
Yeah.
Right. And delivers that line. And you're like, okay. I thought I was watching a cool space movie,
right
but I
back.
guess I'm sad tonight.
Isn't that like after she calls him a jerk too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's love, man, and that was part of the theme of this movie too, was love.
Very much so.
Just that connection from father to son or father to daughter, man. The connection, if it's a good, strong upbringing at that family, like they gave that. This is the American family right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard workers, smart. You know what I'm saying? Just an easy life. You know what I mean? And it just, you pour everything into your kids, and that's exactly what Matthew McConaughey did. You just fall in love with every single character.
Yeah.
Just fall in love.
Does he even have kids?
Matthew McConaughey?
So. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we can probably do a quick Google search.
If he doesn't, then that even makes his acting even.
I know.
More stronger.
Yeah.
Does Matthew McConaughey have children?
Like we were talking about how Gary Oldman had to look at a picture of his kids in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
It's actually his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's where he dug up that well.
He has 3 children: Levi, Vita, and Livingston.
He likes V's in the middle of the names.
He definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how it really affected me, like how I am now. Like this movie aged well enough to where as you grow up, you get a better feel for what Murph and Cooper was going through. You know, just the emotional side, that connection. But I want to say my favorite thing that I liked out of this whole movie, every single actor sold their part.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one, even the extras. You know, like even the extras, everybody played their part. Like it was this little girl, and I'm shocked they actually had her on here, but it was this little girl. What's her name? Flora Nolan, right? Which I'm assuming that it's Nolan's daughter.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder.
She was an extra. It was a girl on the truck. It was a girl on the truck who looked so distraught, disdained, all the dust and everything. Just looked like it was no hope, you know. But that reminded Murph, Jessica Murph. It reminded her of her being a child and her father, and he's doing everything he could for his children. It's just that connection that we revolve right there. It hit me. I was like, dang, this is so freaking good. It's so good, you know. But it forced her to turn back around. So you know what? I gotta find something. I gotta find some answers. I gotta save these people. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? But the acting for me was like my favorite thing in this whole movie, that everybody pulled their they did their job to sell you something, you know.
That's a cool point, man, because like I feel like sometimes Nolan, even though his movies are cool, the acting is like 2/3 there. If we're being really honest.
Yeah.
The acting really is open to criticism sometimes, if we're being really, really honest. And I feel like, you're kind of onto something with this one, where it's like it was pretty high, much higher bar, it feels like.
Oh yeah. And just giving a shout out to all the Murphs, from the little girl to the grandma. Like literally, like every single person, you watch them grow so fast, but you stay connected with them. Also, an actor that I really liked is David Gassie, is Romley, the scientist dude. He was phenomenal on this part. I was like, dang, like this is This is really, really good, especially when he aged really fast when they came back from that planet, which
yeah.
which Brand pissed me all the way off. But you know, like put myself in that situation. They've never been in this situation before. They've only been through this, you know, in training. So being in a real life situation, she acted as humanly as possible. You know what I mean? So, anyways, the acting was great. The other thing I liked was the science behind it. Nolan definitely did his homework and made things so either scientifically sound or left it open enough to where it could be possible. Like this could be a possible thing. You know, like when he talked about the wormhole as being a sphere, right? A circle, and how they explained it. What Romney explained and how it would be from point A to point B. He drew this part, fold it, and what you have a sphere. So it's like stuff like that. It's just that connection. And then another thing that I like too is that they did not name or they did not find out exactly who brought them there to that point. They still kind of left that open, and I'm so happy they did that, because if they would have say, "Oh, well, it was an alien being" or this type of, it would have kind of took away from something that's like more of a higher power.
Well, he does say it's humans. He says that.
Yeah, he says that, but it's still it's like, okay, you can say that okay because of the situation that happened, but you really just don't know. Right now, you saying that because you just went through this phenomenon. So you say, "Oh, well, we brought us here." Did you really bring yourself here? Like you really just don't know. And I thought it was interesting that robot, what's that robot name? The last robot, huh? What was it?
TARS,
yeah.
Okay.
So even when Cooper said that, you know, humans brought us here, TARS stayed silent. He didn't say anything else after that. Because he said something different than what Cooper was saying.
Right, he just called it the beings.
Exactly. So I just love that play on right there that did not give a specific being or power or whatever that led him there to save the human race, to help Murph save the human race.
Yeah.
Are you telling me the top is still spinning on the table? We just don't know.
Inception.
Oh, goodness. Hey, that might be one on our books though. Inception.
Yeah, I like that one.
That might be one on our books. I've seen it once and I fell asleep.
Oh, what?
Fell asleep?
Yep, I fell asleep.
Wow, that's a great movie.
I fell asleep,
How
bro.
did you fall asleep?
I don't know. Maybe I was drunk that day. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's because I'm gonna say it. Christopher Nolan movies are too damn long.
Too long, really?
Yes,
really long.
For what they are. Like think about Justice League Snyder Cut. That did not seem like 4 hours, but almost every Christopher Nolan movie is like 230, 240, and there's like I look at my wrist.
Yeah.
Like I clicked the thing. How much time we got on this? Because it's
man.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like he's just a little pretentious when it comes to making him as long as he wants.
Well, you have a lot of dialogue compared to not as much dialogue. So if something that will keep your attention is something that's continually to change for each scene. And the one thing that Zach is really great at, he's great at keeping your attention. You know, so you go from one scene, you have this action, even though it's quick dialogue, but it's meat. It's a lot of meat there for you to cling on to as things are progressing, and then you go into the next scene, and then the next, it kind of flicks like that. So you don't stay on one scene for a long period of time. Other than Nolan, you stay on a scene for a good hot minute. There's a lot of dialogue.
Nolan has you actually really hit on something really important there, Raheem. Like as far as holding the audience's attention, there's a couple ways to do that, right? And one way that Nolan refuses to do that is actually really useful and effective is to build suspense by giving you data. but he withholds data. He's the kind of director that does not tell you what's happening. So you will lose interest if you have to generate your own interest in a Nolan movie, because he will not give you any leading information. The crux of his charm is the question mark.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that doesn't work. They're like,
You
well,
say
you're
that?
not telling me anything, so why am I even here? Like, you're actually just leaving me out of the movie for 2 hours until the big reveal at the end, right? And that becomes his vehicle. Like, and it's not great with every audience. Like, but
You say that without even seeing Tenet.
Huh?
Tenet is 1,000 times that.
I know, dude. That's what he does, though. He withholds information intentionally to add to whatever his plot twist is, instead of giving you little. I mean, he's kind of messed with it a little bit, you know, throughout his career and stuff. Like, I don't know, but this movie, he definitely is in full Nolan mode, where he's like, I'm not giving you anything. You're experiencing this with the crew.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, and it's like, I get how that could be really tedious, like after a while, like, and being like, but especially if you're not interested in space travel or like, you know, tesseracts or any of that stuff, you don't give a crap. Like, the humanity's kind of almost like not there. I mean, it's there, but I don't know. I just think Raheem's really dead on with like Nolan's inability to hold your attention sometimes.
One thing I've noticed about his movies too, except I feel like it was a little bit better in this one and Interstellar, but a lot of his movies, like, I feel like, especially like when he's having dialogue between two people, like it's so quick. Like, most people will, like, they'll say something important or they'll say some dialogue and like it'll just breathe. They'll let the scene breathe a little bit. But Nolan is just like, if you watch his movies, like, it's just so like, the pacing on his dialogue between two people is always like so quick. Like, especially in The Dark. I noticed when I rewatched The Dark Knight, like, if you rewatch The Dark Knight, just pay attention to like how people talk to each other in that movie. Like, it goes by so fast.
It's almost like Kevin Smith, where like they're just waiting for their turn to deliver their line. Everyone is.
Right.
That whole thing, instead of acting. Like, yeah. But I mean, Fincher is guilty of the same thing.
Yeah. Fincher does that a lot too. Go ahead, Izzy. All right,
yeah, I can be quick. So I like that there's no sound in space. Again, I'll just reiterate that. That's one of my big likes.
Don't be quick. Just take your time, bro.
Okay. I mean, I have some, you know what I mean? Like, well, one of the biggest likes I had was the discussion between Brand and Cooper when she's making a case for going to the planet where her lover is, right? And Cooper's like, it's not a good idea, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But she, as a scientist, admits that there's no social utility in loving someone that's died. and no scientist would ever do that, but she does it in a moment of emotion, right? Because that admits that there's a higher power. That surrenders, like, the fact that there's no social utility when we're at the peak of our evolutionary like chain, basically, like, that we're still doing something that has no social utility, that's a waste of time, right? Unless there's something created in us, right? So the fact that was in the movie, in a movie about space and about science and stuff, that one little thing, and she just like caves and says it right then, and he admits it too. He admits it too. And I'm just like, man, that's only one line in the movie, but it just does the thing. It just puts it in there. The idea that, you know, they still don't know what's going on, even though they're like capable of interstellar travel. I think the climax of the film was probably my favorite part, but I don't think I got to explain what I think the climax of the film is, because it might not actually be the climax of the film. To me, the climax of the film is, it starts when Matt Damon blows up the space station, and it ends with Cooper going into the black hole without telling Brand that's what he's doing. It's that entire docking sequence where he does it manually, right? And that to me is like probably one of the best things I've ever seen in a Nolan film. The soundtrack is actually
part of the movie. The docking scene is my favorite part of the movie.
Well, because you get to see Cooper vindicated. Right? The beginning of the movie is him having a nightmare about a failure when he knows he's a good pilot. And he never gets to prove it. And then John Lithgow builds that up in a conversation. Hey, maybe you're just, you know, it sucks that you're good at something, but it's useless at this point in time because we need farmers. You know, that whole thing. And then he goes up in space, and all he does in space is the stuff he's not good at. They're like, we need you to pilot. And he's like, no, you don't. Not really. Like, and he gets up there and he doesn't do any piloting. The TARS does it.
Yep.
Nobody pilots anything up there, right? He does one docking sequence with the other kid from American Beauty, right? And they do it really well. And it's really quietly done and it's cute. And they're like, it's sort of nervous and stuff. And you're like, okay, great. But you don't get to see why they hired him, except for in like, what, 8 minutes? But man, what an 8 minutes.
He earned
right?
8 minutes. He earned it.
Yeah, he did.
So you get to see him vindicated, and he's like just sweaty as hell too, and just like, and he just does it. And I love the grit that he has, like that whole manly, you know, industriousness and like ingenuity moment where the robot's like, that's not possible. And he's like, I know, it's necessary. And he just does it. And you're like, oh.
That separates what? The
Man from
robot
robot.
from an actual robot.
Yeah,
Loved it.
totally.
Every part of that. That's
Yeah,
good.
and the way that's shot when you see them start to rotate and get slower and slower as they get closer and closer, but they're still slightly off. Like those are the things I want to watch how he shot them, because that looks like how it would really behave in a vacuum. You know what I mean? The way he's timing the spin with it.
Right.
And you see them in the chairs, like when he's like, all right, hold on. Cause like if I pass out, take the yoke, like, because it's, you know how many G's that is inside a thing that's generating its own gravity. Right. That was cool. That was probably my favorite part of the movie. I liked the sets a lot. And I really liked, as far as like that water planet thing, at first I had a problem with that too, where I was like, that's too close and it's going to get broken apart. Right. But then it's like, hold up. Time moves really slow next to that thing. And when they got there, that girl that had launched 10 years ago just crashed there.
Yeah.
So that planet is in the process of probably the beginning of being torn apart, and it's going that slow. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, no, we actually did think it through. They might have got there.
The water planet?
Huh?
The water planet?
Yeah, the one that's really close to Gargantua and the big waves.
Right.
Smack them around. I thought about that. I was like, oh, that would just tear it apart. Then I'm like, oh, they got there before it got torn apart because how slow that would happen. Right?
So they got there just as the wave was happening?
No, the waves are starting. Like they're all happening right then. You know what I mean? He doesn't explain that, but that was my thinking. I was like, oh, if time moves 7 years for every year, right? We would have a totally different idea of what that planet being torn apart is than what it actually is like on the surface of it being torn apart. On the surface, it's so slow, right? So I don't know, kind of weird. I liked that though. There's a couple of weird little goofy things like that, but they also kind of go into my dislikes too, though, some of it. So I'll just hold off. But that's basically like my favorite stuff about the movie. Maybe You Want to Be a Dad, which I never thought about before. Like that docking scene was one of the greatest vindication scenes in a movie that I think I've ever seen, even though it's not really high on action. Yeah, I don't know. And the fact that they acknowledge something bigger than science when she says there's no social utility in loving people that die. So those are probably the big takeaways for me about that movie.
My likes, I would say, are, well, one, I love this movie. I think this is Nolan's best movie. I think it's the best one he's made for me. I think I love the reality of space. Like you could tell how much research he did on it, putting it into it, and it made it seem real. Like it made it seem like Raheem was saying, like all of this could be possible. Like I felt like everything we were doing, like technically, like could happen. I loved how different they made the planets look when they visited them, because it made it look like they were actually in space, like visiting different unknown planets. I love the freaking sound quality of it. The sound quality of it is just like, and the score, oh my God, the score in this movie is amazing. I love the score, especially when he's docking. Like that church choir, like score he's using, oh my God.
There's like organs. I've never heard
Hans Zimmer use
organs.
Yeah, dude.
So there's definitely a church feel.
He's such a beast.
Hans Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer scored it. I thought the acting was really good, except for one person who I'll get into my dislikes. Trying to think what else. Yeah, the space stuff. I have the 4K on it, and I'm gonna watch it now that you brought that up. But because they go into like all the behind the scenes, like how he did everything on the other disc I have, and I'm really curious. I've never watched it before, the behind the scenes one, but I'm really curious how he did it.
Because I bought it. Because it was like $3 more to buy it than it was to rent it. So I was like, okay, I got the Blu-ray from like half price, and it's like definitely got the making of, and I'm like, all
Oh
right.
yeah. You have to see that. And what else? What else was I gonna say? I liked how time was like a character in the movie. Almost. I love that about like the way they used time in this movie was like so smart because it's like I don't know, it created like a sense of urgency, like in the movie. Like they were always trying to like stay ahead of it,
Got to
even though
get
they
home to my
couldn't.
kids that are older than me.
Right. Yeah, like when he sees his kids, like at the very end, he
The
sees his
second he
daughter,
gets
and his
back,
daughter's like a grandma now at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, and I also liked but when the first time I watched it, when she was talking about how they kept talking about how love like goes against like dimensions or time and stuff like that
yeah.
made zero sense to me. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What did
But
you
this time I
say?
got it. I got it this time. Like it made sense to me when like there's one line Anne Hathaway says, and I can't remember what it is, but it made sense to me. She said something like,
My mom told me not to get in cars with strangers.
not that
No, not that one.
different movie.
Okay.
She said something about like think like how is it possible to love someone like you haven't seen in 20 years or something
Right.
like she said something like that, and then like it made sense to me. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like if I went 15 years without seeing my mom, like I would still love her. Like you know what I mean? Like the time apart doesn't stop you from how
That's
much
right.
like you know how much you love someone. So I thought
Yep.
it made sense to me this time. I got it, but those are my main. And of course, I mean the movie's freaking beautiful. Like, dude, just like the way he made space look, and like all the shots of like like off the ship where you could like see Earth like slowly rotating. Oh, dude, it looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
It looked
He used that
gorgeous.
camera like a few times actually, and it was
Yeah.
like where it's pointing at the nose, kind of from
Yeah.
behind the nose. Yeah.
Right. All right, Jared. Kick it off with them dislikes.
I really, really, really did not like the ending with how they communicate with the books and the gravity and the
Oh, like the
controlling
watch.
the time
Yeah.
clock, and in that cube where he's bouncing around to different walls. I feel like there's like 100 different ways they could have portrayed that, and it just did not set with me. It reminds me of like one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time is Sunshine, and the first two acts of it are amazing, and then at the end it turns into a monster movie and just kind of
Is it a horror movie?
yeah.
Jim Carrey, you talking about?
What?
Which one are you talking about?
Sunshine by Danny Boyle.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh man, I still love it, despite the fact that it turns in it's one of those like thinking space movies, and I love those.
Until it's not.
What's that?
I said until it's not.
Right, but I mean, I felt like it fit better.
Yeah.
I could tolerate the ending of that one better because that's like just 2/3. Well, I don't know. This one's an incredible movie to me until the end, until the point where he jumps in the black hole. I like what you said there, Izzy, where that was the climax of the movie to you.
Yeah.
Because yes, that whole stuff all the way up to that was great, and I don't mind him being able to communicate with past him.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like the execution. I thought it was weird. I thought it was. I didn't understand how he could wave his hand above a watch and somehow with gravity get Morse code going from the second minute hand or whatever.
Right.
Raheem's going like this. Like
he's gonna get you.
Does it make sense to you, Raheem? Like
it made perfect sense to me.
It probably just didn't resonate with Jared.
There was a few key. Nolan set it up for it to make sense. There was a few key things that was said for you to understand. Like, okay, because how can you explain it, right? And we're in a 3D dimension or somewhat of 4D, but we're in a 3D dimension. So how can you explain something in a fifth dimension, which they are far surpassed dimensions where we are to where we can understand, right? And it made me go back to understanding a spiritual realm, right? They're in a completely spiritual, different spiritual realm. That realm has, I don't know how many dimensions for their understanding. So what does God do? He gives us stuff for us to understand and for us to understand in a physical realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you have to have something for us to visibly see.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, okay, I can connect with this. I can, oh, I'm a, NASA, whatever. I can do Morse code. So they set something up for them, or for Cooper, for him to do Morse code, to which he taught his daughter Morse code. Now she's old enough to understand something that happened back when she was a kid.
Right.
So, like, for me, that connection, I thought it was perfect for me. So
I would have been fine with Morse code. I would have been fine with another way of using gravity. That was what really struck me. That's why I went online and tried to find out the science of it. Is gravity truly something that they say can reach throughout dimensions, like time and space and everything?
It does mess with time. Black holes, yeah, definitely. Gravity,
yeah,
messes.
I mean,
with
it
time.
sounds like at this point it's a theory, because I mean, even like black holes at this point are kind of a theory, right? I mean, wormholes are.
They changed the speed of light around them.
Right.
Yes, and the speed of light is fixed at 186 million miles a second. 186,000 miles. No, 186 million miles a second. It's fixed. And if it goes around something that has heavy gravity, like a black hole, they see it slow down. It absolutely affects time. Absolutely. Like, gravity affects everything. Like,
I kind of felt like Nolan found out that gravity can cross space and time.
Yeah.
And he decided to make
how can humans make it do it? Yeah.
He decided to make a movie about it. And that was,
I think so too.
It felt like that was the basis of this whole movie. And
then his brother.
Love also conquers all thing.
Yeah, you definitely cut that in.
I just really felt like it could have been done in a way that made more sense and wasn't as strange.
So
I understand that they put him in a space that he can understand. He could comprehend living in this world where all he saw were library shelves in the room and everything, look through it. But it honestly just kind of, I loved everything up to it. I loved the pacing. I loved just the feel, the vibe. But once that happened, I kind of checked out. And the same thing happened the first time I watched it. I was hoping this time it wouldn't, but that's a personal thing.
I have a question for you, Jared. Two things. Well, the first one is, so the first one is not actually a question. So that the bookshelf room is just her room,
mm-hmm.
in different stages of her life, right? So what they was trying to convey there was, this is going to be the catalyst. This is the area that we're trying to focus on, so that when she gets above age, she's going to understand every sequence that she went through at that time. It wasn't for her dad. It was for her completely. And he was the one, because they had a strong connection with love and everything else, so that she can understand that, and hope on it, because love, like that's the hope part, that they're going to connect. This is going to happen regardless. So they banged off of that. So scratch all that. But my question for you is, what would have been the perfect ending for you in that situation?
What's that is?
I said, I know what it would have been for me. I want to hear what you say.
Oh, I actually don't have one. I just feel like they could have come up with something better. They could have just left it unknown. They could have just completely left out that part, just that somehow he's reaching his daughter. I guess that would have alleviated a bunch of other scenes from earlier on. But I'm watching it and I'm thinking about, like, okay, there's a sand, like I said, with the watch, you're waving your hand over the watch and somehow gravity changes that. There's also the sandstorm that comes in, and how precise can you be to make a Morse code message on the floor by just putting your hand out in the sand that's flowing through the room? I don't know. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know, Raheem. I just feel like they could have, like, got a writer's room together and come up with something better than what they had. Maybe Izzy's got it. Maybe he should have been in the writer's room.
Nah.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to hear the perfect ending real quick. The perfect ending.
Well, I'll get into it in my dislikes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
My other thing that I wasn't too big on was it was so funny because I must have had it in the back of my mind from when I watched it the first time. But when they come up to the stranded planet, or the guy that's stranded on the planet, the scientist, and I'm like, wouldn't that be funny if it's like Matt Damon because he was in The Martian, where he was stranded on a planet.
Yeah, that's his bingo.
Oh, it is Matt Damon. So I must have remembered that from before, but I thought that I don't know that maybe I just don't like Matt Damon a whole lot. I mean, he's all right, but I wasn't big on. I felt like he projected a lot that he was kind of not a good guy, and Cooper probably should have picked up on that before he yanked the tube out of the back of his neck.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just kind of felt a little contrived and not executed well. But that's a minor one. I mean, I could have lived with that. But the ending, the way of communication, all that, I just didn't buy into.
I agree with you on that scene. I agree.
That's all your dislikes?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, Raw.
I'm gonna start off with that scene. Look, man, reaction. Every action has a reaction. Okay, so that scene when Matt Damon took out the intercom and tossed it, like it wasn't like he took it out and like it was an accident. He took it out and tossed it instantly. Your intent is you're going to kill me. Like that should be your first thought. You're going to kill me. You look at him like, what are you doing? And then, but like this didn't take away the movie from me. But and then after that, you're fighting, and then you get the upper hand, right? And then you allow him to talk and everything, and then he comes after you again to where now you're about to die.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to talk him out of it,
bro. That I was like, oh come on, y'all. Okay, you could have come up with something better than this. You could have came up with something better than that. You know,
but Nolan's not very good at action. I'll say it.
Obviously,
yeah, that's true.
Obviously, that was pretty bad. And
he's not great at one-on-one action.
What?
He's not great at one-on-one action, but
no, he's not great at one-on-one. Like when it comes to one-on-one combat, it's you know what I mean? So it was pretty bad. And then in that same scene, when he started headbutting him, he was like, "You're gonna bust your own glass," but he ended up busting his glass. I'm like, come on, man. Like, come on, bro.
He says there's a 50-50, and I'm like, why are you saying if it's
exactly? I thought the same thing.
If it's a coin flip, get off of him. Like, what?
Thank you. So yes, that part bothered me, but it didn't take away from the movie from me.
But he's the nice farmer.
But that yeah, a nice farmer. But yeah, that bothered me. And one other scene. Okay, two scenes bothered me. Two more scenes bothered me. But it contributes to how much of a good actress she is. Anne Hathaway. The water scene.
Yeah.
I hated the fact that she became, and please forgive me when I say this, when she became a woman in that moment.
The what thing?
She became a woman in that moment. She it wasn't a scientist anymore. Her emotions took over, and she legit became a woman in that instant, and let that better part of her take over from what she knew she should have done. Turn your butt around, get back to the damn ship.
On the water planet you're talking about.
The water planet.
Oh, okay.
Your actions killed another human being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then you also had to have that happen though, you know, like because then they need the they need to come back to the ship and find out it's been like what's 12 years.
I know that. But what I'm saying is the reason why the other scientist saved her because she's a woman and she can produce birth. She can give birth to more kids. She was a better option. So he risked his life for her, even though she was told 5 times, get back. No, you don't need that, bro. Get back to the damn shit. So I was so mad. Like she was so good in that part. It had me so mad. But I sat back and I analyzed that. I said, you know what? Given, I said this earlier, given the fact that she's never been in this real life situation, she's always been in a simulator. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Situation. So she gave in to her human instinct of what she was trying to do, and it just messed up everything. And then she was all over the place from that point forward. And then she kind of brought herself back. You know what I mean? And that's just
I do like that line when they get back in there and that dude's dead and they're like stuck because the engines are waterlogged. That line where Matthew McConaughey goes, "Oh, we are not prepared for this."
Yep.
Like, and he doesn't mean what's happening right then. He means all of it.
Right.
It just hits him. It just hits him because he doesn't say we weren't prepared. He says we are not.
Yeah.
Like present tense, humanity is not prepared for interstellar travel. We can't even handle something this simple. Simple. When 10 years are on the line.
Right.
We still can't handle this. Like it just hits him. Like it's such a good line, man.
That's the other part. Right? For one, they calculated how far they calculated wrong in the first place. So when they get back, that's when they realized that damn, we was this far off in calculations.
Right.
But the fact that it was still a far-fetched calculation, I wouldn't even thought about going to try to find something. Get back to the ship, bro. Like this is life or death at this point.
Yeah.
Life or death, life or death, and time. It was just all bad. So that was thing I disliked, but at the same time I liked because of the acting.
Yeah.
But so another part, my last part that I disliked was it's a weird scene that I don't know if you guys will even get this, but it's my own little weird stuff. So Cooper is back after the whole thing went down, and now he got picked up by the mothership, and he's back there. And then they showed a scene of kids playing baseball. This kid hit the baseball, right, and it went and it goes through a window, and they're just cheering like, "Oh yeah!" I'm like, "What the?"
They were trying to hit it.
But like
it's up on the top. It's up above them. They're aiming. I watched it again and it was like, what? Like I had the same reaction, but they're little punks that are trying to get somebody's window on the opposite side of the cylinder.
But this is a game, like a game where people are in the stands watching, and you're saying that he literally aimed for that house, that window.
They were aiming for one of the houses up there, any one of them, and they've probably been doing that all day. Like kids,
if you think about it,
they live in a circle.
If you think about it, at some point the gravity is going to level out, and it's going to become.
They had to hit it hard enough to go whoop in the game. Yep. I thought that was funny.
So to me, I thought it was careless. What if somebody was in there?
I'm like, does this happen all the time?
I'm just saying, like, it just threw me off. If somebody you just threw in there, it threw me off. It's like this is careless. Let's just do this, and then, we did it. We finally get this. And then in my mind, somebody is unconscious, laying on the floor with a bloody head. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was just weird. I thought they could have done that a little bit differently. I just thought it was weird for me.
Back in water.
And that was my last dislike.
Okay.
All right, Izzy.
Okay, so I have like a kind of a question because this may or may not be a dislike, so I just want to get it out of the way right now. So I was under the impression when they launched that any of the people that went to the other planets, they had a maximum of 10 years. Right? They say that like if they don't get rescued in 10 years, then they're done, right? Because he says, hence the bravery, right? Which makes me think that the cryosleep stuff runs out or their power supply or something. Like they can't make it for 10 years, right?
I thought that was part of the twist.
What?
When they said that.
No, it's in the beginning. in the beginning when they give him the whole spiel at NASA.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we sent out 11 people. Dr. Mann's one of them. They went to these all different planets, you know what I mean? And it's like they have life support, for 3 years. And then if they sleep, if they go down for the long nap, it's like 10 years. They can last 10 years. That's what my understanding was. But they find Matt Damon and wake him up after the black hole incident where they lost 14, and he'd already been there for 10.
Wow.
And I was like, that math doesn't shake out because he's been there for 24 years now, and he's definitely dead. There's no him getting out of the cryo sleep, if I heard that right.
What's up, James?
Well, how
well, I guess that's part. I guess that depends on because I mean, pretty much everything they said on there was a lie. At the space station. So I thought that was when they sent him out, they never planned on them returning back.
Right. Oh,
that's why I was like. That's why I was like, well, is that true that they're only going to last? They have enough to last 10 years or whatever, or did they have enough to just live out there?
Yeah, maybe the cryosleep keeps them indefinitely as long as the power's on the station. Maybe that's a thing that happens if they're
that's what I thought. I don't know. Maybe that's what I thought though.
Yeah, maybe I just heard the 10 years thing wrong, but I was definitely like, that's 14 years later than 10 years because when they left, Matt Damon had been there for 10 years already. The whole team had left 10 years before. And they were saying that the time limit was 10 or 11 years. So it's they're all pretty much screwed unless somebody found something good, right? Kind of a thing. So that bugged me that they found Matt Damon after the black hole problem because that added 14 years to the time and they already started with 10 on the clock. So the math didn't line up on that one. But I didn't like the soundtrack. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It was a bunch of organ music. And I was like, okay. It really wasn't my thing. And it kind of took me out of the movie more than it kept me in the movie, except for in the climax. It was really good in the climax. And I kind of wish it was the only scene that was doing that, the organ thing. But oh man, I didn't like the ending. I'm definitely 100% with Jared on that. I really hate the idea that it's just humans and that they threw him into a tesseract to perpetuate a loop where he talks to his daughter over and over and over and over, right? Because if he's the ghost, then that means it's the chicken before the egg.
Right.
I hate that crap. I hate it. It's not fun. As a mental exercise, it's okay, I can't. Dude, I was canceled when I said I like Dark Knight Rises. You guys are you guys are over already. It's over already. Yeah, I didn't like the ending at all.
I said the same thing. Why didn't they cancel me?
Because you don't like Dark Knight Rises.
I also really ripped into the ending of Justice League.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, whatever. It's just my turn to be the bad guy. But yeah, I didn't like the ending. I really wish it was aliens. I wish it was aliens. I really wish it was aliens. And I wish there wasn't a stupid time loop that you can't solve as a viewer, right? Because he, as soon as he got tossed in that tesseract and saw that he was behind the bookshelf, I knew right away. I was like, oh, he's trapped into being the ghost right now. Whoever put him in that tesseract has doomed him. Because if he doesn't do it, then he's actually not in the tesseract. Because he never left. He never found NASA. It's a time paradox. He vanishes. He evaporates right then. If he doesn't do it, he's trapped in doing that. And I'm like, all right, so which one's the first Matthew McConaughey that did it then? Because the aliens didn't do it. If it's not aliens, it's humans, right? It's just stupid. It was dumb. I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending at all. I just wish it had been aliens and the reveal was ominous, mysterious, all that kind of lofty, all these really cool things that didn't give you all the answers, but you were like, wow, our new life is basically going to be curated by another alien race because we didn't make it. But they saw that we had potential, so they scooped up the remaining human life, right? So I didn't like the ending. I just thought it invalidated how good the rest of the movie was. That's how I felt. I don't know. I like the idea of him going into a tesseract and seeing that he can touch time across gravity, across the and actually manipulate it. That's actually a really cool idea. The ability to do that, but to be forced into doing it to yourself for your daughter is so weird because where does it start? Right? Had to start somewhere. And I guess that's kind of probably the Christopher Nolan thing where it's they'll never figure it out. And it's dude, that's a 7-year-old time loop problem. That's not a real ending to a film. That's every kid that has a brain thinks about that crap. What if I came back in time and I stopped my parents from having me? It's that. I don't know, that's what it felt like. But so I didn't like it. there's something I didn't like Brand's character. That was a big problem, is that like she was a pain in the ass and a major arrogant problem the entire time. She was a liability the entire time. She doubted him. She naysayed. She didn't listen. She was totally a crappy person. She's a bad person, right? And like the fact that
like a scientist,
the fact that Cooper's daughter is like, you should go find Brand, like out of nowhere, like that would be attractive.
I forgot about
like,
that.
That would be attractive. I would never want to see Brand again. Like, I'd be like, no, I didn't like her. She wasn't fun. She made fun of me. She was mean about the ideas that worked. She didn't take, like, no, she can go hang out with her lover. Like, why would I go find her? Like,
because they had a connection.
Like I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like
they had a connection out in space. Now I'm not saying a romantic connection, but they connected on a different level because they've been through a lot in that short period of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like, man, I will say, I did forget to say something about my likes. I really liked the robots. I thought that was really good design.
You're right. You're right.
Their design was really good, and it was a lot of puppeteering, I guess. I can't wait to watch that too, because like I want to see how those work, because they were really cool and their personalities were. Oh, and that leads to one of my dislikes, one of my biggest dislikes, probably my biggest one. They never used the 10% of dishonesty in a way that hurt the crew, and I was waiting for it the whole movie, where he's like, I'm at 90% honesty, and you're like, oh, okay, and you're like, that's gonna screw them later, and it never does. They don't even touch on it again. Never. And I'm like, I thought that was going to be a huge plot point. Why did we even have that conversation? Was that just to be funny? And I watched it again and I'm like, no, because it's not funny. I like watched the line and I was like, no, that's not like a joke. He's like, that sounds ominous. Like both times I watched it, and I really hated that it never happened. And I wonder if there's a director's cut or something where like he lies, like Tars lies to the crew within that 10%. Besides the whole like, hey, is she seeing somebody? You know, and he's like, oh, I can't tell you because I have to be discreet. And he's like, well, you don't have a very good poker face. Beep, boop, boop, bop. Like that was like that's a one-time lie. That was so stupid. Like I thought he was gonna lie in a meaningful way to protect the plot twist, and it ends up hurting the crew, but it helps humanity. That's what I was waiting for. Never happened. Hated it. I sat there waiting the whole movie for Tars to lie and get caught, and me be like, oh, like you know what I mean. So
the end of it.
Bye, Naveen. So that bothered me, but yeah, that's basically it. My biggest problem was that weird time loop, and then that Tars was like, "I'm gonna lie later," and you're like, I'm ready," and then he never does it, and you're like, "What the hell, dude?" Like I felt wrong. So, anyways, that's it. Those are basically my dislikes. So, yeah, Jared.
I had a couple comments on that. What you said?
Yeah.
First off, I feel like we are 100% like on board with this movie.
Me and you are on the same page.
Yeah. I thought that whole love thing at the end was ridiculous. Like, how would she even know if they had a relationship or not in space? Because she's been on Earth this entire time. His daughter,
it's
right?
Time, Jared.
Why would she say go see her? The only thing I had was what you said, Raheem. They went through the same thing together, right? But there was never. Yeah, that frustrated me.
I think mainly, yeah. I guess it would be because they're the only two people that survived that entire incident, and they're on the same timeline.
So
maybe.
So, I also forgot to talk about the robots in my likes because I thought they were really cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out the music too, because for Dakota's sake, Dakota Monroe is the person that suggested this movie, and he said mainly he wanted to suggest it for Hans Zimmer's Crazy soundtrack. Crazy can be interpreted in different ways, right?
It's unorthodox.
It's what?
That. The soundtrack to this movie, it's unorthodox.
Unorthodox, yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't like pulled in by it either, honestly.
I didn't like it. But yeah,
cool.
Me and Jared are on the same page, dude. That like never happened. Yeah.
I legit thought it added to the mystery of space. Like I thought it really added to the whole theme of the movie. The movie was different. We'd never seen something like this type of movie, and it needed something different. And I thought that like
it didn't detract. It didn't detract to me really, but it just knowing that it's Hans Zimmer and how many amazing soundtracks he's done, I wouldn't have put that in like one of the best parts of this movie at all.
I do want to watch it with a good sound system. Dave is like onto something because like
it's
Right. Dave, what are your dislikes, bud?
I don't really have a lot. My one dislike is I think Anne Hathaway is a great actress, but I feel like she was really miscast
I
in
think
this
so too.
movie.
I
I
agree with
think
you
I
entirely.
like her. I didn't buy her. Like especially the scenes where like she was acting sad and like I just didn't buy it, man. Like I don't know if I didn't notice it before the first time I watched it, but this time I watched it, like every time she was crying, or like even when they came back up from the water planet, and the black dude he was like super old, and she was like feeling. So
Rami,
I was just like, I don't
Rami,
believe that she's actually sad right now.
Yeah,
I
I
was
didn't
like, I'm
buy it
not
either.
buying it. Like I don't
that,
know what it was, but like
that's
she's not a
because
bad
she
actress.
ruined
Anne Hathaway is a
everything.
great actress.
Yeah, she's
Anne
a really
Hathaway
good
is a
actress.
great actress, but I did not buy her in this role. Like I think she was really miscast. I think it
Yeah,
should have went to somebody else for sure.
I think so too.
I think this comment will be made for anybody because she ruined everything. Like legit.
You mean her acting or her character?
Her character.
Oh yeah,
Her
her character was definitely
Maybe
like
they
her
wanted her to be
character
unlikable, you know?
made
Like,
you
yeah.
hate her. Her character made you hate her, which made me believe that her acting was so good. Like after this movie,
it could be it.
legit, it really made me dislike her, like as a person in real life, because of this movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like
Her character
that.
definitely did a lot of things, dumb things in the movie that made you dislike. I guess you could say her and the character, but it's just like even the part like when she's crying in scenes, like I don't think her character is trying to fake cry. You know what I mean?
No.
Like I think she's actually sad about the situation. I just don't believe it because I don't
Yeah.
know. Like
It
her
was
in the
weird.
role just didn't make me believe it.
It was really weird.
You gotta respect it.
That's probably my. I'm trying to think of what else. Um,
You love this movie. I knew it. You were like, you haven't
I
seen
do.
it.
Yes, I do. I love it. I love it so much.
It's dope.
Um,
It's a dope movie.
I kind of. I don't know. I guess it's not that big of a deal because at the end of the day, everything gets saved. But I kind of feel like they just kind of glossed over that they were committing global genocide in this movie. I was like, is that not a big deal?
I
to
mean, the only
anyone?
time they acknowledge it, yeah, is she's like, but that monstrous lie. She says that, but the
Yeah,
lie.
like I know
Lie.
that monstrous lie. I was
But
like,
he says,
that's what you're calling it,
and what he says in response though is, it's unforgivable,
right?
and he knew that.
Because they're, I mean, they were
He
talking
was
about
willing to destroy
wiping
his
out
humanity. He was
a
really,
world.
to save the human race.
Yeah, right.
He was willing, yeah, and I'm like, global genocide, yo.
Right. Yeah. Like you're talking about killing billions or however many people are left on Earth just to just to restart. Like, and I was like, that's like not a big deal to y'all. Like that would make me throw up if I heard somebody say that.
And they're all just like
Scientists,
wait, what?
Scientists want to see the outcome, a positive outcome, and if there is a higher like a better rate of outcome that can be a positive for the human race without bringing extra humans on board, they will do that in a heartbeat. Compared to trying to construct something to bring everybody, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Mhm.
And then try to build from that point. So the easiest route was what? We have all these incubators, all these little, little babies, you know what I'm saying? That we
Right.
can bring to this other planet. We can incubate them and start from there, you know? So I get it. Like I get it. It's heartless as hell, but I get it from a scientific standpoint because
I get it. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
they're talking about the planet's dying. There's nothing they can do to save it. It's like, what are you going to do? Just let humanity wipe out or go somewhere and start over? Like, I get it.
Incites the plot, the space
Right.
exploration part of things, yeah, for sure. Because you're not just going to have a movie about Matthew McConaughey being like, I'm going to go fly into a black hole and see what happens. Like,
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that humans ruined the Earth in the first place.
yeah, there was like a small like clap back at us for being for
Right.
littering and stuff, like you know, whatever, like using too much energy. Like, yeah, it was weird. I don't know. You know what I did really like about this movie though, is even the second time I watched it, how he's like, you go through that wormhole and by the time you come back, I will have solved the problem of gravity. He says that to him, and he's like, I give you my word. And I was like, oh, that's awesome because he already solved it and he's lying. So even though he's lying, he's still telling the truth. And I was like, that's mean.
Right.
That is
good writing.
That is terrible, man.
Yeah.
It's good writing.
Some evil stuff right there.
Well, I want to say evil. Like, to him, it was necessary because as a scientist, he knew the best route was to make people believe in something. They're going to follow through. But if you say, well, X, Y, and Z, everybody's going to be for themselves naturally. Yeah. So he did what he thought was best. That was going to carry through. That was going to carry through for the best results.
Yeah.
But he did not count on human intentions. Even though you have scientists on board, you still have human intentions.
Period. Oh yeah, the human element.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. And I still prevail. It still prevailed.
I like that he was having a beer with the robot at the end, though. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I really liked that part a lot. Like a lot. Like me quite a bit.
I did have one quick question about. I didn't understand the whole. Why they were chasing the drone in the first scene to the cornfields. So what was that about?
He needed the power cells to run his farm equipment for the next 10 years or something. Like it ran on these solar cells that were like amazingly powerful. He says that.
Yep.
It's a really quick line though. He said, like, this will run the farm.
He said it's necessary.
Farm. Like, and that's why he scavenged it. Like, yeah.
Okay. I missed that. I thought it was some sort of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind type thing where you got chased down.
It's just been derelict from India. Okay. It was from India, like, and their whole system went down the same time as the U.S.'s military system, and some drones are still flying around because they have solar power and they don't have anything to do. They're just on autopilot. Like, that's what he was saying. He does go into that. It's like only a few sentences, but yeah,
I missed it.
That's the whole reason they chase that with so much urgency, because it stops that stress for him to have to continue to wonder about how to power the farm.
Okay. And also his kid was Timothy Chalamet. We didn't say that.
Yeah, and then he was Casey Affleck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Casey Affleck too.
Casey Affleck, when he was older.
He was the perfect douchebag farmer.
Right.
All right, that's all. I was just wondering. I'm glad you explained that to me because I didn't know what that was all about.
Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time either, and then I watched it twice. I was like, I'm gonna watch this again and just kind of see, like, and then I was like, oh wow, I totally understand that part.
Oh, Jarrett, we'll start with you. Out of 10.
I'm struggling with this one, and it's the first time that I feel like my rating for the quality of the movie is different than my rating of the my feelings towards the movie.
Okay.
Usually they line up, and I feel like this movie's quality is a lot higher than just my personal like for it.
I agree with you.
So which do we go with? What are we going with here? It's the first time I've had to ask that because it's always been.
Pick. I don't know. Just. I think some personal feelings should enter into it on this channel, because we're not getting paid to critique the film for other people to read. Right? You know what I mean? That's why I always say that is when you read another critic's idea, you shouldn't feel the critic too much. You should just be informed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
About whether the movie fell on its face in ways that it tried to do stuff, right? But if it's us, like, why not? Yeah, let's get into why we liked it and stuff, like, you know.
I mean, I bought it because it was almost as cheap as it was to rent it, and I'll probably never watch it again just because it's long. It's really long, and I mean, I don't like the ending. Just period. Like that just kind of blew it for me.
Mm.
But it's a high quality movie because Nolan does not do bad movies. I mean, period.
Bash it and give it credit.
I would probably say that personally I give it a 5, but as far as like quality, I give it an 8. So now I get to choose between 6 and 7 because it's in the middle.
Yes, and Chad, if you've seen the movie before, go ahead and rate it out of 10. Go ahead and rate it out of 10, Chad.
I guess I'll give it a 7.
7? Okay.
This is a 9 for me. It it resonated more so this time for me than
Nice.
it did in the past. I love the ending. I'm sorry that you guys did not love the ending, but I loved it. I understood what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Maybe that added to me like it even more so. Trying to put myself in a situation to where, like, I get it. I think having an alien be the outcome is a cop out. My personal opinion.
Okay.
I feel like it's a cop out. It's too easy to point to an alien. So
Well, because it's more likely.
let's try to do something to where you can't really say what it is. That's what I liked about it the most. That, like, you can't pinpoint whether it's if it's a higher advanced humans, or if it's a higher power, if it's God, or if it's whoever it is. You just can't.
Yeah.
It might be an alien. You just don't know. You cannot come up with that answer. And I'm glad that they left that. I'm glad that Nolan left that blank.
I feel like it wasn't left blank. I feel like it was totally. We have advanced to the point where we can reach 5 dimensions of space, and we saved ourselves.
To me, that doesn't make sense. I'm gonna tell you why. You can get as smart as you want to get, but you can always say 1 + 1 = 2. So for me, no matter how far advanced you can get, you can always come back down and explain something to somebody in elementary form. Always. So for me to be like, okay, this is humans, nah, far-fetched. And
I didn't believe it was humans either, personally.
That's why I always go back to that robot who stayed silent after Romney, whatever Matthew McConaughey, after he, after he was saying this is us, we came back, we whatever the case may be, and the robot stayed silent after that. The robot said nothing else after that point, and they never addressed it. So Nolan did that on purpose, stating that we just don't know. We don't know what it is, but somebody, some person, some being, some higher form of life led us here. And they helped us to explain something going back in the past once. It wasn't like it was a continuation of events that, okay, we're always going to have this loop. It never expressed that. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. Maybe my mind just went so far into it, and it was adding things to that movie for me to come up with this conclusion. But it happens, because it does happen. Like, when we watch a movie, sometimes we want to add it for ourselves to be like, okay, this is what it is. And this is why it makes sense. This is why it's this way. Maybe I did this. I've done this to this to this film. But for me, it made sense all the way through. I love writing. I love the story. I love everything about it. I love the actors about it. Overall, this movie to me was a 9. I enjoyed it. It touched my heart on the relationship with the father and daughter. And I just think about my daughter, and our relationship. Like, I have legit the same relationship that I have with Matthew McConaughey and the son and daughter ratio. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's so insane, right? Because my son, he's a hard worker. He does his stuff. We have our conversations. We're buddies. And my daughter, it's just like my heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's
your heart, bro. It's legit your heart, and it just stays there forever. And it was just aching for him. Like, he knows that he has to go away to save humanity and to save his daughter. The only reason why he left in the first place. So it's just
Murph.
Murph. That hurt me, man.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I love every bit of it, and it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Izzy?
I'm gonna give it an 8. I know it's probably surprising, but
not bad at all.
I think it did everything it tried to do really, really, really well, except for the ending. So I mean, that's it. Like, I mean, it's like, if you want to watch a really cleanly made, like, Kubrick-esque stab at, like, a digestible space film, it's awesome. Like, it totally nails it. So I think it did most of what it tried to do really, really perfectly. So
that's really interesting. You compare it to 2001, because I think that the robots, the AI, was a pretty good evolution from what 2001 thought we would have compared to what we think we would have now. Like,
Yeah.
and they were both kind of revolutionary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really did like the robots in this one. I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
I'm
me
like,
too,
what,
man. They were great.
it's just a block, but then their personality and the fact that they could change their personality, and then they could also be like useful in the field, and when it went and picked her up and carried her back to the ship and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that's
Turns into a
pretty
wheel.
awesome how versatile this bot is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like that they didn't give it a human face, so you never forgot.
Right.
There's none of the
right.
weird
I like that too.
uncanny valley stuff happening. There's just a
Right.
screen and a voice, right? And you're like, all right, cool. Like,
very scientific, right? It's
Yeah, it was
very useful
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for what it is, and it stores a lot of information in that box.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Great. Loved it.
what you got, Dave?
I'm gonna give it a 9. I give it a 9.
Yes!
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I think it's pretty. I can't quite give it a 10. There's not a whole lot of movies I'll give a 10, but yeah. I mean, I think it's like. I think it did a good job of balancing like stuff that obviously isn't real, but it just like it stays in that realistic viewpoint. It still stays in it. Like the science of it seems so legit. Like it didn't take me out of the like some of the insane stuff they were saying about time and stuff. It didn't take me out of the movie because it just seems so grounded, like in reality, really well, which I love. So
Agreed.
I love space movies, man. I love anything that involves space. I love it. So all right, so next week, Man in the Iron Mask. I'm excited. It's my first watch. Never seen it before.
Oh,
so.
cool. That's a first, I think.
Yeah.
It's
I never
your first
seen
for
it.
real? Oh yeah,
I've never seen it.
You're gonna love it.
Alrighty. Well, we will see y'all next week.
Bye, chat.
Man in the Iron Mask. You guys take it easy.
Thanks, guys. Good show.
See you guys later. All right.
Thanks for hanging.
What is up, Four Takers? Jared here. I just want to give you a way that you can access our content without giving you a bunch of Twitter account addresses and Facebook account addresses and all that. It is one very important link that you need to remember to see all of that Four Takes has to offer. If you want to listen to our podcasts by itself, if you want to watch us while you listen, if you want to check out all 3 of our very distinct different types of videos that we have under our playlists on YouTube, that's there. If you want to join in on the conversation live via David's Twitch Monday nights, 8 o'clock Pacific time, that link will be there. If you want to pick the next movie that we do, we're going to do a viewer's pick monthly. That would be through our Facebook or our Twitter accounts. That will be there. If you want to monetarily contribute to us, that will be there. If you want to just check us out and see what we're doing in our everyday life and watch Izzy and David play video games, chat with them personally. If you want to watch me sing dorky Mandalorian parody videos and hang out with my granddaughter and do all sorts of goofy skits, that will be there. Everything is there, and it's under one address that you need to remember. It is linktree/4 takes. Now the important thing is that there is a dot between the tr.ee. It is linktree.ee/ no, that's confusing. linktr.ee/4 takes. Enjoy the show and check that out.